Okay, this is going to be a quick video going over the AutoRule app in SkySpark. So I created this app to help with automatically applying rules based off the points you have in your system. The idea here is we'll have a main app called AutoRule, and we'll have different pods for different sets of rules. So we'll have a VAV pod, right? An AHU pod, chiller pod, right? These different pods will contain different rules for different equipment. And this pod for auto rule will use those rules and allow you to auto add them depending on the tags of your points. So that's the idea of it. It's a bit more simple than what it sounds, I'm sure, but let's go ahead and get into it. So auto rule, it is this hammer right here. If I click on this, we're presented with two views: apply rules and rule tuning. Apply rules shows all the rules that you can currently apply. These are the default rules I've got in the pod currently, so there is no set of rules as of yet, but we are working on a library that we can release with this pod to have as an acquaintance of this pod, so you can apply rules right from the get-go. So this shows every single rule that you can apply. If you click on them, you can see the bindings that it needs, the tuning that it gives, and the function as well, the source code. So this is kind of fun. You can see exactly what your rule is kind of looking for, right? Your bindings, your tuning from these guys, and then also what is happening. So none of these rules are really crazy rules at all. In fact, I'm not sure how many of them are extremely functional. They're really made for just the test purposes of this application. But to show, so we've got, zone air temp sensor occupied for these bindings. We've got a couple of zone air temp sensor and zone air temp set point, right? A KPI. I mean, this kind of shows you what you can do here. And now if I hit auto add, right, the whole purpose of this is to be able to automatically add this based off the points in your system. So if I hit auto add, you can see two rules were just added and are currently running in the background, right? They're running from the rule app currently right now. So if I click on this, you can see, okay, BSHG test rule, there's a help, there's a rule func, right? And rule on. Rule on is interesting, right? Because this looks at every equip in your system and sees what equips have the points it needs, right? And what tag to apply based off those equips. So in this instance, it applied the single duct tag, right? Because in most cases, in fact, 7 of the equips have zone temp and zone temp set point and they have a single duct tag. Right from here, you could add more tags like variable air volume you want, or DX cooling, or you want it on all RTUs or all AHUs, right? You could then add those tags here based off this list. But this list is helpful because it'll show you why did it pick single duct, right? Why didn't it pick AHU or RTU, which is more common for this, or VAV, right? Well, it picks single duct because every instance of single duct, or 7 instances of single duct, had those 2 points within it, which is pretty nice. You can see how many equips without those points. You can see the ratio within the system, how many equips have those points. And you can also, you can say rule on only equips with points. So in this case, let's freaking do that. Let's do it for this one, rule on. And you can see it added single duct and EQ auto rule. So let me go to the tools app, single duct, right? Let's look at this. And you can see for every single equip that had the points it needed, it added this new tag called EQ auto rule. So if I go over here, you can see EQ auto rule, where this rule equals this ID, and you can see it right there. So this singles out exactly the equips that can take this rule, right? So it's no longer going with the general answer of single duct, even though single duct's a good guess. It's now giving an extra tag for all the equips that do work and applying that rule to those equips, right? All automatically, right? You could all you say is rule on only equips and you're good to go. I've got this other button, rule on based on ratio, right? So if I click on here, Unfortunately, this isn't going to show anything, but for rule on based on ratio, it'll pick what is the highest ratio. And what does ratio mean in this instance? Ratio means what is the ratio of the tag to equips in your system. So how many VAVs are here? So say you had 100 VAVs, 5 AHUs, the ratio of VAVs is way higher than the AHUs. In your system, your AHUs are 1% of your whole system, whereas your VAVs are quite higher, right? So it's going to pick the VAV tag rather than anything else. And so that's the idea of the ratio. In this case, it'll pick single duct because, well, single duct is the highest ratio. Now, that's not always going to be the case, right? This could very well be single duct could be an offshoot where there's only a couple of them and it has a smaller ratio in the entire system. So there is a possibility that this could be helpful. Now, so that's all well and good. That's the whole idea. You can see it didn't apply these other rules. It only applied 2 of them. Why? Because the other ones didn't have these points, right? You couldn't find occupancy or occupied in test and test tag, right? This is an obvious test to show that it will not apply it if it can't find the points it needs. So that's kind of the whole thing for AutoRule, right? You can apply rules based off the tags in your systems automatically. It's very clean. This is going to utilize different pods, as I was saying at the beginning, where we'll have a pod for air systems, right? VAVs, AHUs, whatever, and it will automatically apply based off of all the air systems in your system. So pretty neat. Now, I do have this extra feature where you can add rules to this list, right? I'm unsure whether or not, let's see if I can do one that will work right from the get-go. Maybe cool and heat. Let's see what this does. No, it doesn't look like I have any functions in here for these. So there we go. So you can see this is going to allow you to add your own functions. This is a test station, so I need to make sure one of them actually had a function with it, right? But this will let you add rules, your own rules to this list in auto add, right? You can export this trio and add it to a pod and use these in AutoRule, right? That's the whole idea of it, that you can contribute, you can add rules to this, and we'll add them to the pod if that is how it needs to be, and we will then be a huge compilation of rules that you can auto apply to your system. That's kind of the idea of this whole thing. Now, other than the apply rules, we've got rule tuning. So you saw we've got tuning parameters here. Now that's all well and good, but if you can't use the tuning parameters, what's the necessity of any of this, right? Let's go to the rule tuning app. You can see we've got the 2 rules that were applied. If I click on this, you can see all the equips that have this rule. Now I'm unsure whether or not, okay. Yeah, so for the rule, when you click on an equip, you will see a spark test of that rule. So you can see it's sparking at the bottom, right? This is BSH test rule. I'm on test rule. I'm on headquarters. So this is all the headquarters VAV single duct unit, right? And it shows all of the history for July, and it shows the spark. And Y is what you could see here, right? The reason I put this here is because if you're going to edit your tuning parameters, which you can from here, you'd want to see what's happening with your spark currently. How do you want to dial it in, right? This is where you would do that. You would check it here. And if you needed a more detailed check, I do have an app called the Rule Tester app, right? You can go to settings, install, search for BSSG, and download the Rule Tester app. That app is really good. I have a video on that as well. That's extremely helpful when trying to troubleshoot or test your rules. And so if you needed a deeper breakdown than this is pretty basic. This just shows the history as well as the rule test itself. You should for sure get this app. This is very helpful for testing your rules. But this is as basic as I'm going to get it. So you can see how your equip is handling the rule and edit the tuning for this equip based off that, right? Add tuning, change this however you like, and you'll watch your rule change, right? Based off your new tuning parameters. It'll automatically create a tuning record, and automatically edit the rule. So that's kind of the essence of the AutoRule app in SkySpark. I will be adding more to this to make it a bit more filled out, but that is it for now. Heck yes, if you have any questions or thoughts or opinions on where I should go from here, definitely let me know. But that's it for now. Okay, bye.